Hi everyone, my name is Heather and I'm the person behind Happy Puppy Truffles. Today I wanted to share with you guys a fun sort of craft project that you can use, taking some origami paper or some of my printables that you can get from my website, the paper patterns that I have there. I know everybody's gearing up for back to school and it's fun to kind of personalize the things you're taking with you. One thing I always like to do is cover my pencils with different kinds of paper, whether it be fancy wrapping paper or origami paper, just something to kind of make things a little different and fun. If you're using origami paper, you can go about this a couple different ways. Both of these are two of my patterns that I have available on my website. I just took one where I just do a straight roll, and then this is where I take a strip of paper and kind of curl it around. And I thought I'd just show you guys both techniques. They both are pretty quick and easy. You do need to use some good glue. You need to really cover your paper well. And I try to show you guys a way to do it so you have the least amount of paper layers so that you can still hopefully sharpen your pencils in some way. You still want to be a little careful, maybe test them out first. I know some of my electronic pencil sharpeners didn't really like taking to the extra weight and the thickness with the paper. But then when I use like my standard loser thing like this, it worked fine. So test it out until you find one that works, so you won't be sharpening your pencils with knives all the time. But I like this too because it's a great way to use some old pencils that you just don't care about anymore. I think literally these pencils are over 20 or 30 years old, so I don't even know if they still write. No, pencils always write. It's just a nice way to refresh things. So if you've got some that you just don't like anymore, this is a great way to kind of make them cool again. So I'm just going to show you guys how to do this with some regular old origami paper. Now, it winds up being a little small, to be honest with you guys. If you're using this, you can see it's a little shorter than the length of the pencil. Depending on the colors you're using and stuff, you could choose to leave a little extra here. And I don't know if you guys are using ones that have erasers, maybe you have a little less space to be working with. But you can just leave this extra bit here because when you sharpen it, it comes up about to that point anyway. Or you can, of course, use regular paper and measure it out more exactly. But if you're going to be just using regular origami paper, like I would be using here, I find that if you use 1/4 strip of paper, it winds up being just about enough to cover things well. I try not to just do one roll around because I think it helps to have a little extra paper. So I think it winds up going around twice this way. But if you fold your paper in half and then just fold one of the sides here back, that gives you 1/4, and I can just cut that off. So I get a 1/4 strip of paper here, and I'm just going to have some scrap paper that I can have underneath so that I can glue all the way to the edges. That's really the key to making this work, is making this as sticky as you can. You don't want to use, double-sided tape because it makes things too heavy. So you really want to try to get to every little edge of the paper with your glue. And that way everything should snag nicely and it'll give you a longer life on your pencil that way. So I get things kind of glued down. I'm just going to go ahead and hold it up for a second and create a new non-sticky space to work with here. Lay my paper down again. This could be a little tricky because it curls on you. And then I'm just going to line up my pencil here. And in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of plan to take advantage of the kind of cool pattern that's at the end of this pencil still. Keep that there. Try to line things up a little bit so that when you roll things together here, especially with this kind of a standard pencil, it's got the nice edges to it. You can really get a good crease on each of these as you go around. Just put a lot of pressure, roll it forward, putting some pressure on each go so that you really get things to smooth out and to stick onto it well. And just keep going, and as you go you can smooth out these edges that appear as you roll around to get it really nice and snug on there. And it should just give you a nice little finish at the end. And usually, because origami paper is fairly thin, this, like I said, works pretty good. And in this case, the pink is a little pale. I can still see a faint shadow of the pattern underneath. Kind of take that into consideration depending on what you're using as your base pencil. But it really gives a nice smooth finish. And If you're using your fancier origami paper, it'll be a little thicker, so you want to keep that in mind. But then you can just, you know, sharpen off the edge here. You can see it kind of creates a cool little effect there. And as you go further down, it'll hold itself pretty good, especially after the glue's dried. It helps a little bit to kind of prevent it from smushing and smearing a little bit. But just a fun way to kind of make your own little unique paper coated pencil there. Now, the other thing you can do, if you want to have sort of this, you know, random kind of variation of the pattern showing on your pencil, you can also take your paper and trying to find the longest side is right down the middle, actually. And I'm just going to fold my paper in half, and then I'm going to take a little area of this and roll it up. You probably take about 1 centimeter is good. Get a good crease on that. Open everything up and cut both of those lines so that you remove that extra triangle on the sides there. So I've got the paper cut. I'm going to use my paper again down here to keep things from getting too sticky with my glue. One thing I do want to do here is I want to just take and fold back a little bit of one of these edges. And the reason is that as I fold here, I do want to use the edge that I have naturally here to guide me along. But I want to make sure that when I do this, if you just leave it the way it is, you'll see that you wind up getting this tiny little bit of a triangle where the pencil shows. If that doesn't bother you, you can just leave it. This angle gives you a nice start to the curl. It gives you a good edge so that you can line it up to the edge and then create a nice, like I said, like a nice little angle to roll things around on. If that little extra, like I said, is bugging you, you can go ahead and fold a little bit of this down so that we can get maybe a smoother start to things. So if I look at it here with the point, I'm going to fold the side up a little bit, about 1/3 of the way, and that should give us enough to eliminate most of the edge there. Now I'm just going to go ahead and cover this with lots of glue, like I did with the other one too. Get glue all the way to the edges and in the middle. Get that out of the way for a second. Fold this over. I can kind of start with this here. And I'm just going to start down at the bottom here. And like I said, I want to start right at the edge. And if you wanted to, you could, you know, use the pattern that you have there. If you have an eraser there, you can use that too. Try to line it up as much as you can. And then just roll it along. This is a little trickier because you're dealing with a narrower part of everything. But if you go through this slowly, you should be able to get it to kind of line up nice. I've got a little glue on my fingers. Let me get it off there. And we're just going to keep kind of going around here, just trying to apply pressure evenly as you curl and roll along. And I said it's nice when you use these pencils that have an edge because it gives you a little extra to work with for keeping things really smoothed out. But if you're using, you know, a really round pencil, you can just kind of get a good start to it before you roll things around. This one does wind up coming up a little shorter than using the paper the long ways. So despite having a longer piece to start with, you wind up having less of the pencil covered. And you can, you know, just by a little bit, not by a lot. But you can see here we get a good covering, and it creates that nice little spiral pattern there to everything. And we can then sharpen it off, of course. And again, it helps if you kind of let things dry before you sharpen. And in this case, I actually had to break the pencil and sharpen it again to get a little closer so that you don't see so much of the previous color underneath. Just one of the things that you might find with that. But just a couple of different ways that you can cover up your pencils to make them more unique and kind of match some theme you might have with your stuff for school or for your office. I don't know how many people really use these pencils anymore. It depends. I know in Japan you have to use these kinds of pencils. You're not allowed to use mechanical pencils until you're a little older. And even then some teachers are really strict about it and insist that you still use regular pencils. So these, are popular even here too, despite the fact that we have the best mechanical pencils probably in the whole world. But doing something like this though really makes it feel special, like it's unique to you and fun. So it can be a really great gift when you give somebody something like this, and some stationery too. It's a fun kind of thing to do for people. So I'll encourage you guys again, you can check out all my paper patterns, use any of those to kind of make and decorate your own paper pencils, and I'll have some more fun projects to share with you guys in the days to come. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye!